Hello and welcome to the Real Estate Regroup Show. I am your host, LJ Walker, a real estate investor, helping you realize your dreams of owning a home or investing in one. Can we talk about this heat, guys? Can we talk about the heat? There is a heat wave going on in the United States of America, particularly this week, but there have been some other states that have been actually experiencing heat from last week, and I think the week before then. I'm not really too sure. Somebody told me, I think they're out in Texas, that it's 120 degrees. I was like, we got to talk. We got to talk about this. And we need to talk about what its effect is on real estate. First and foremost, when it comes to the heat, one of the obvious reasons, or the first things that probably will cross your mind, is the fact that utility costs definitely can jump up real high during this time because more and more people are using air conditioning, right? And unfortunately, in some areas of our country, a lot of properties don't have good energy efficiency like insulation and solar panels and HVAC systems and things like that. They don't have that in their property, right? And some, believe it or not, some properties are not even wired so that they can have it air conditioned. Or if you have the air conditioner on, guess what? You got to turn something else off in order for that air conditioner to run. You see what I'm saying? So this is really a trying time. I'm not sure if some of you are even aware, but it is actually not just causing an issue with the house itself, but some cities are having issues. Like New York City, believe it or not, there was a day not a couple months back, it actually wasn't even hot, and the generator blew because there was so much power being used at one time. You see, now I'm going to say this right here, but I remember during the time that we had COVID, there wasn't really much of an electrical problem. It wasn't until they said, hey, we want you guys to go back to work, go back into your office, that we started to see this problem. Am I the only one that notices this? Let me know in the comments if you experience the same thing in your city. But I know that this is what I've seen in my city. Now, I know that not everywhere is there a mandate that says, they want a certain percentage of people in a company to physically come back to work. I know that that's not everywhere, but unfortunately in New York and in Philly, they went ahead and they passed that, which I think is really, I don't think it was wise at all, but I know they did that because some of the commercial buildings, the property owners of those were losing money. So that's probably why that was done, but it wasn't smart. It wasn't wise. And also, just so you know, I know me particularly, I was working from home for a long time. I still work from home from time to time, but I am now mandated to go to work 4 days a week. Okay. So I've been told that, since I'm pretty much, it's just me and 2 other people, we've been told that wherever we're not using the light, to conserve and to turn the lights off in those particular areas. You see? So I don't think it's a smart move, but I understand why the move was made. Okay. Now, how is it also affecting real estate in another area? And that's in location preferences. you see, there was, and there still is, a great migration from the north to the south, right? A lot of New Yorkers, they moved to Georgia, Atlanta. Now many of them are moving to Tennessee, Alabama. Some are moving to North Carolina, and many actually, I'm noticing many are actually moving to Houston, Texas. That's another hotbed of people, right? However, I'm also noticing some people moving back, and I'm also noticing an increase in what they call snowbirds. People who, when it gets cold, they move down south, but when it gets hot, they come right back, right? They may have more than one property, or they may stay with a relative for a season and then go back to the south. Me, myself, I was looking down south, but ever since I started getting these hot flashes, my own private summers, okay, I'm having a change of thought as far as where I want to relocate. Plus, the zones in New York have changed. New York used to be 6 and now we're 7, which means that it's getting hotter up here. Our climate totally changed. See, so many people say they don't believe in climate change and all this other kind of stuff. No, there is definitely climate change. And if you garden the way my family gardens, you will notice that there are now plants that we can plant now that we weren't able to plant before. You'll also notice that there are certain bugs, certain insects, certain pests that we now have that we never had before, right? Like cicadas, for example. We never had those before until this year, okay? So, yes, location, it is affecting location as far as where people are moving to, and the demand of certain markets have either increased or decreased, believe it or not, because of the heat. Next, construction. Because the heat has become extreme, the many developers are changing and using different material, particularly when it comes to the roof and dealing with that, so that this way the property is a little bit more durable, right? But of course they don't want it too perfect now, because if it's too perfect, then they're afraid that they'll be out of a job. So they're only going to put down something that it used to be 20 years for a roof. Now you probably should check it every 10 years. There's still some roofers that are quite decent and will give you a good quality, but I'm noticing that the quality has deteriorated. And I'm noticing also that what used to work doesn't last as long as it used to. And part of it is due to the change in weather, to this heat that we're dealing with. Okay. Now, as far as other things like, some people, they use what they call green roofs. So they'll put their garden on top of the roof. But here's the thing though, in New York anyway, we got to get a permit. We can't just grow trees and stuff like that up there. Okay, no, you got to go to the Department of Buildings. You have to go and register for that certificate. They send an inspector out to come and check to see how strong it is, and then they'll let you know. My neighbor did it and he was rejected, so I'm not even going to be bothered, because that'll just save me money. You understand me? So I'm okay with just my backyard. Even though the birds chirping sometimes get on my nerves, but I'm okay with just having the greenery in the backyard and the little bit that we have in the front. Plus, as you know, my mother has her community garden, so I'm good to go. All right, I am very much good to go. Now, the other thing that this heat, moving on, that this heat affects is your insurance costs. Because unfortunately, especially in certain areas, the higher temperatures do increase the risk of fires and heat-related damages. Okay, so that's why certain areas will have higher premiums than others. Okay. Now, and then another thing that the heat causes, which is very, very, very dangerous, is indoor air quality. The high temperatures actually worsen the temperature or the air quality inside of a house. And this can lead to a lot of health concerns, especially with many of the elderly who may deal with heart attack and things of that particular nature, or even breathing. Sometimes people with asthma, they have a hard time during this particular period. So they need properties that have, or, you know, they may look, if they are informed, they may look for air filtration or ventilation systems in a home. Like, that is very important to them. All right. And then unfortunately, though, a lot of homes weren't built to accommodate even those things. You do have like portable, you know, air filter and ventilators. You do have those. However, it is always best to have it like built into the home. So the older a home is, the less likely it's going to have that. So people like that, they normally would do best in a more modern home. Yes, see, when you have health issues, your choice of home that you choose to live in, it matters. It really does matter. Okay? So I need you guys to really, really get this and really understand that as the climate continues to warm up, it does affect the real estate market, and the real estate market as a whole has to adapt to this change. And this is for buyers and builders, and of course also investors who really want to make the most bang for your buck, right? Like, for those of you who flip, some of you talk about, oh, you only want to flip the older home. But see, a lot of times these older homes, it costs more money than the newer home to flip. And then sometimes while you're flipping, because this happened to me, the law will change and you'll be almost done or you'll be complete. And then the law says, wait a minute, where's the ventilation? Where's that at? And that it has to go through the roof and all this other kind of stuff. So you got to take the roof off, which is what we did, right? Well, the contractors did. I didn't do that. But they had to take the roof off and put the ventilation in and then put the roof back on after we had already completed the house, guys. So, yeah, it's a real thing. It's a real thing. And then that house, honestly, was built in 1985. So it really wasn't that old. It really wasn't that old. It's not like it was a 400-year-old house. You understand me? So, yeah, these are some of the things that you gotta be aware of, that you need to think about before you purchase a home. These are the questions you might want to look into before purchasing the home. Is there ventilation? Is there air filtration? What is the utility costs? What is the insurance costs? And if you're buying it from, if it's not a brand new home and you're buying it from someone else, ask them. And I wouldn't just stop there. I would also ask the neighbor and compare costs. Because sometimes two people can live side by side in an attached home, but the utility prices are different, you know, and you may want to, you know, dig into that a little bit more as well. And unfortunately, not everybody in real estate, and even outside of real estate, not everybody is 100% honest. There are people that if you don't ask, they're not going to tell you. And then there are people you ask, but what they tell you is not true. So that's why you have to double check. You can also look at, some people look at meters too. All right. That's basically it. That's what I wanted to share. Hopefully you guys will stay cool and calm during this particular heat wave. Don't do too much. Slow down, because we need to stay healthy, right? We want to enjoy whatever it is that we have. All right, because your body and your health is actually more important. Okay, guys, so please feel free to share this amongst your friends. Like, comment, subscribe. Until next time, have a good night.